Hello, I'm ABX again, and welcome back to the video. Today I want to talk about something rather interesting that you might not have known about when it comes to the brand new version of Minecraft on the Xbox, the Bedrock edition of the game, because it is the Snow Biome, and how fascinating this is in pretty much every single way. One of the things we asked for the longest time on pretty much every other edition of the game is to have more realistic weather, to have more realistic biomes, and this particular biome seemed to have got a lot of attention from developers in a bunch of different ways, including, yes, you did just see a white tree, and I want to talk about all the different ways that Minecraft Snow and Minecraft Snow biomes are fascinating in today's video. Hopefully you'll enjoy this look into one of the best and most interesting biomes in Minecraft. So like this if you do like it because it helps out the channel, and let's know you do like seeing these sorts of weird, like kind of wacky changes. I really want to talk about like different biomes that you don't really see on the old versions that you kind of see on this one because they're just so different. They're basically a new biome. But first of all though, let's get straight into it and let's start by talking about exactly why this snow biome is so interesting. Because again, you look around any part of the snow biome and you'll see that there's just a bunch of different stuff. But I think the first thing we should talk about is the fact that yes, trees do in fact change to be white when it's snowing, because there's two distinct things going on in today's video. I want to first of all talk about snow biomes as a whole, and then second of all talk about snowy weather. They're kind of interlinked, but they also happen separately too, which means that you get two fascinating things which can occur in different places and have very interesting different effects. But when you combine them together, you get the most interesting, diverse, and perhaps realistic biome in the game. But let's just get straight into talking about the biome itself, shall we? Because you'll notice if you ever go to a snow plains biome, unlike the old version of Minecraft where it's just like, oh yeah, there is a layer of snow on the ground and that's kind of that, you'll notice these snow biomes on this version are much more covered in layered snows, because snow, if you don't know, can come up to 8 different layers. As you can see, you can get like lots of different stuff together, and it means you can have basically a staircase if you really want to. It's a very thin staircase. It's something you can do though, and it's one of the only blocks in the game that can really have this many different forms to it. And most of the previous biomes on both the Java and the console edition never really took advantage of that. It just kind of had one layer on the ground and that was what you did. However, on this version, you'll see, like I said, it has lots of different uses of different layers of snow. So here's one layer of snow, here's 2 if I'm not mistaken, and then here's like 3 I believe. But basically you're going to see how there's lots of different layers of snow all added on top of each other to make the biome feel a bit more smooth and natural. It's one of the like smoother biomes in the game, if that's something you can believe in. And also you'll notice how this biome is now capable of having villages inside it. I find this fascinating personally because it means you can find these villages with no crops, just covered in snow and covered in ice instead of like crops, which means that again it's like it's really a frozen village. So these are kind of like igloo people. I love the way this works, and it means that you essentially have a brand new structure only available on this version of the game because they considered, oh yeah, we have a spruce village, it only spawns in the cold biomes, why not make it spawn in the coldest biome covered in snow? And again, to me personally, this looks fascinating and it actually does look really good, and it's something that I quite enjoy looking at. So yeah, this is the snow biome, snow biome village. It's pretty fascinating. Also, like I said, the ice spikes, they don't really change too much, but when you combine them with the other stuff, they look pretty great too. So that moves us on to the second point in today's video, which is the snow weather effect itself. So yeah, the snow biome is much better because again, look at the rabbits you see, look at the villages you see, look at all the differences you find in this biome. But then let's combine snow with snow weather. So a fact that you are probably aware of, but you might not be, is the fact that if you, when you get rain in Minecraft, rain doesn't affect deserts, so it could be raining in your world, but you won't notice if you're in a desert. And if you're in a snow biome, when it rains, what is officially rain is actually just snow. So as you can see, I set the weather to rainy weather, but here in the snow biome, it's actually snowing, because again, if we leave this biome, you'll see how it is in fact the same weather as rain. But if you're in a cold enough biome, it's based on biome temperature, then the weather changes from rain very subtly into snow. So this might seem like it's not a very big deal, but one of the things you'll notice immediately, so let's turn it on and off again, because that's where you do with most things. So let's turn it off very quickly. One of the things you'll notice immediately is that the snow is kind of real snow. So not only is it thicker and actually changes the render distance a little bit, but it also changes the color of things like trees. You'll see how the tree will slowly fade back as the the winter goes, and I just think this is amazing that like the snow not only kind of like exists and really changes your render distance and feels real, it also changes the color of real things you'll see all the time. So as you can see, this is a tree. It's going to slowly fade into the white weather, and as you can see, the render distance goes in slowly as these changes happen. There's a slow fade from not raining to raining, or not snowing to snowing, as an example, and it changes the way, literally, the way stuff like this looks. And it means that if you are to place any oak leaves around, then they're going to be white instead of green, essentially giving this version a new block, a secret block, if you will, that's activated based on biomes. Also, like I said, look at my render distance now. It's something like 4 chunks. I know this is for rain too, but in snow, it makes way more sense. It's like a snowstorm. You literally can't see because you're surrounded by snow. And the other thing you'll notice about snow is besides like, oh yeah, it changes how literally, you know, all of your environment looks, which is fascinating enough by itself, but you'll also see how the snow slowly, if you look around, is going to add snow layers to everything. So if you look around here, you can see, oh, we just saw one over there. Do you see that? So if I look at a big amount of stuff like this, you'll see how snow is slowly falling and actually turning into these snow-fallen blocks, which means if you let snow fall for too long, then you will eventually have everything covered in snow. And this, by the way, doesn't just apply to like, oh yeah, well, obviously the environment gets snow because that's how, you know, the thing I mentioned earlier about how it's always getting taller, that's how this happens. No, the reason, oh, that's kind of weird. It just stopped snowing in this weird gap in between. Oh, okay, now it started snowing again. So, again, I'm not sure if that's a glitch or part of the weather. If it's part of the weather, that's impressive. But still, you can see how everything's been covered in snow. But this doesn't just include natural scenery, like our white tree over here, or like our plains biome. But if we are to build anything ourselves, if we decide, you know, I want to build myself a little shack, you'll notice how this little shack we built, or let's build it a table, because, like, I don't want to build anything we can live inside. But let's pretend this was a really beautiful house we just built, the thing we spent all time on. You'll notice how it will slowly become covered in snow as time goes on. I know this is something that actually happens at least on top of hills in the old version, but seeing it happen in real time just everywhere, not even just on top of mountains, like in the real biomes, like stacking on top of each other too, you know, like multiple layers, I think it's fascinating to watch, and it's something you might not have known existed on this version. So yeah, personally, I think this is one of the more fascinating changes. You'll see how eventually oh wow, it all comes at once, it seems. It's like a big update of the layer. So yeah, this is one of the more fascinating changes, in my opinion, to this version. You just see how snow falls in layers and layers and layers at a time. And yeah, it feels more realistic. It means we've got like, look, the blizzard gets heavier in some places than others. Personally, I think this makes the game a little bit more realistic. I think it makes it more interesting, and it's something you might not have known about. So this is just a quick little video I wanted to upload. Let me know if you do want to see more like weird biome changes and weird changes between this version and the old one, because I think they're fascinating personally, and maybe you do agree. Like if you do like it, because it helps out the channel. Let's know you do like this sort of video, share if you really liked it, and subscribe if you're new around here. I make videos like this one every single day on my channel, and if you want to see them daily on your homepage, make sure you hit the bell, because that's how you do that. So yeah, subscribe and notifications on, and you'll see more videos about more fun changes that you might not have spotted. So thank you very much for watching, and I guess I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.